don't know who needs to hear this, but you might be addicted to hope. Hope, as powerful as it seems, can sometimes keep us trapped on a hamster wheel of inaction, repeating the same patterns while expecting different results. Today, we're going to explore how hope, while comforting, can also be a false code that limits us. Let's dive deep into how this addiction shows up in our lives and how we can disrupt the cycle to create real and lasting change. Sometimes you hear things and it really sticks with you. A political scientist was explaining these habitual patterns that the American populace seem to be on. And he said very succinctly that Americans are addicted to hope. We have a hope addiction. And it harkened me back. It hit me, and then it made me reflect on my favorite movie of all time, top 3 for sure, which is The Matrix. And in The Matrix, there's this scene, and for all my Matrix fans, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's this scene inside of The Matrix 1 where all the rebels are traveling up this staircase, and a black cat walks past Neo. And then a black cat walks past Neo again. And he whispers, "Oh, I just had a deja vu." And Morpheus hears this and says, "What did you say?" And he says, "Oh, nothing." And he's like, "No, what did you just say?" And he said, "I just had a deja vu." Morpheus knew what that meant because he understood the codes of the system. And in that system, when you had a deja vu, what that meant was that the system was glitching. Circa 2024, many people are talking about, both from a political and a social perspective, that this is deja vu. Like, we experienced what we're experiencing now back in 2016. And while I'm giving the political ramifications or the political parallels of that, this applies much more broadly than just the political. But the political is a good signal. This is happening in the environment. We are in 2024, and many people are scratching their heads and so surprised, and what they've recognized is this is the black cat again. We've just watched what happened in 2016 happen again, right? And so what we can ascertain from that is there's a glitch in the system. And just like in the Matrix, when the system glitches, there's an opportunity. There's both a danger and there's an opportunity. And so right now, there's a danger for us to continue on the hamster wheel. Remember, we talked about codes before. Most people don't really recognize that they're on a hamster wheel, right? Until you ask them, what things are you doing now? What experiences are you having right now in your life that you were having a year ago, that you were having 5 years ago, that you were having 10 years ago, that you swore you would never have again? That's a way to understand that you're on the hamster wheel, you're running the same code. And so now we have an opportunity to take a pause and ask ourselves, now that we've been shown this glitch, what is it that we don't want to repeat? What is it that we want to disrupt? What commitments are we making not to travel down the same highway or the same road that we've gone down before? And so when I say that we're addicted to hope, I want to be very clear and follow the example and the metaphor of the Matrix. The Matrix thrives from people being addicted to hope, Because if you're addicted to hope, you are much less likely to actually change the habits that you are engaged in that create the outcomes that benefit the system. Right? So if you are saying, oh, I hope my child doesn't get sick, I'm hoping, but you're feeding him or her McDonald's, you're allowing them to eat sugar, you're allowing them to engage in habits that lead to the deterioration of health, and just hoping that they don't become obese, hoping that they don't get sick, then the system continues to thrive off of that. There's a thriving of the system that happens when we don't change our habits.
The repeat of the shock is what has surprised me the most, not the repeat of the action, right? So what's the benefit that people are getting from the shock, right?
They're addicted to it.
And why?
Because it's in their biology. So this is, again, why it's important to understand that codes are actually in the biology of the individuals that hold the code. You will hear in popular culture people say, oh, he or she's addicted to drama.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real addiction. The hormones and the chemicals that get released during drama are addictive. And when people are not getting that addiction met, they will create the conditions to get them met. So you would think after having a night out of wild drinking and you wake up in the bed with somebody you didn't even know, and your clothes, you lost your car keys and your watch is gone. This is why someone who's addicted will go out the very next night and do it again. So people are saying, well, we've learned our lesson now. You have to treat the American populace when it comes to things of this nature the same way someone would in AA. The first step is admitting that you have a problem. That's the first step. Because until you admit it, until you acknowledge it, there's nothing that you will really do to change the circumstances. Right? Until you admit that when I drink, things go bad for me, until you admit I have a problem with drinking, then you cannot address the problem.
Right. Well, and you often talk, Soul, about how there's some benefit that they're getting. So it's
Right.
not just that there's an addiction. It's not just that they're repeating a pattern. It's that there's some benefit they're getting from that pattern, right? What are they benefiting from in repeating that pattern?
So I'm going to answer that question, and it's going to be a painful answer. The reason why African people, African American, black people in America hold on to hope in the way that we do is because we have been systematically abused, murdered, Holocaust, if you will, when we take action to become independent individuals in this country. Historically, whenever we have taken steps, whether that be in Rosewood, whether that be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, whether that be in the hundreds of towns that black people set up after they were enslaved, they saw those attempts at self-efficacy and independence crushed violently. So subconsciously, when we rely on hope, it allows us to remain in non-action, but still hold the intention. So it's a safety mechanism in our psychology. Hope is addictive because it's psychologically safe to do. Because hope doesn't require that you get out and really do anything other than to go cast a vote. Which, by the way, to my point, used to put our lives in danger just doing that. And political systems bank on that as well. Please be very clear that both parties, major parties, were pulling on this hope, right? That was Obama's whole thing. Before it was Jesse Jackson, keep hope alive. Hope is a constant theme in Afro-American, Afro-Indigenous mindset historical memory based upon our experience of violence and oppression that have been meted out in this culture. All right, fam. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Here's how you can get on code with what we talked about. Today's major takeaway: hope can be a false code that keeps us psychologically safe, but paralyzed in inaction. While it feels empowering, it often prevents us from making the bold changes needed to disrupt harmful systems and habits. So here we are, your uncode exercise. Take a moment to reflect on where hope might be keeping you boxed in. First, identify the pattern. Write down one area in your life where you're relying on hope without taking meaningful action. For example, I hope my financial situation improves, or I hope my health gets better. 2, disrupt the cycle. Ask yourself, what action am I avoiding because hope feels safer than change? Write down one concrete step you're going to take to disrupt the cycle, whether it's creating a budget, changing a habit, or learning a new skill. And 3, rewrite the code. Replace I hope with I will. For example, instead of I hope my health improves, say I will prioritize my health by eating better and exercising consistently. Repeat this to yourself daily. Breaking the addiction to hope requires intentionality and courage, but it's the first step to true empowerment. Make sure you are following us on all of our social media handles to share your reflections and submit questions for future episodes. Let's keep breaking codes and building thriving lives. Until next time, this is H Soul, and I'm out.